Okay, so let's begin by arriving. So just take a moment to find yourself here and now. Notice the body, notice the chatter of the mind, and locate all of that here and now rather than following the chatter of the mind out into the dream, we could say. Notice that the body and any chatter in the mind is happening now. And allow yourself to arrive. And again, notice if any idea or story, past or future, has your attention in a way that would pull you away from now. And just gently allow yourself to notice that that idea or story is happening now, and land back here now. No need to get rid of a story. A helpful metaphor is like rather than going to a movie and watching the movie and getting into the movie, what we're practicing right now is remember you're sitting in the theater. The movie is welcome. Just remember you're sitting in your seat. And arrive in this moment. Allow yourself to be held by this moment. And as you allow yourself to be held, let the body and the mind relax just a little bit more. And now, for just a few minutes, let's let the mind be really still. With no force, no effort required. Just invite it to get still. not forever. And notice the body. Notice what it's like to be you right now as the mind is gently and easefully still. Notice your breath. Notice the overall sense of body, where it might feel tight, where it might feel open. Now we'll engage this idea, this concept of it's too much. So, onto this relatively blank, spacious canvas, allow to come to mind this idea. It's too much. Without needing to think about it or decide, allow yourself to be shown. It's too much. Where does that hit you? What images come to mind? It's too much. And it could be that more than one area of life comes up. And for now, just let the mind pick one. Let it show you what really wants attention during our time together. Just pick one area to focus. It's too much. And you can even deepen into it by inviting a specific moment in time where that area of life was activated. See if that arises for you, a specific moment where that area that was too much was believed. I'm sitting in my car at the red light, or standing in the kitchen, or he just said those words to me, and invite a moment where that was really alive. You could feel it in your body. It's too much. And allow that experience of it's too much. We're going to welcome that experience so we can investigate it from the inside. So try it on, feel it. It's too much. Notice what's happening in your body and what's happening in your mind. So, what we'll do now is have an opportunity to share just a little bit about just a snapshot, a sentence or two about what you're working with. What's too much? Does anybody need more time to identify your specific too muchness? Okay, cool. So I'll demonstrate. So for me, what comes up with it's too much is there's this new endeavor that I'm engaging in. I'm training in a new modality to share. And there's a lot of details, there's a lot of information. And as I look forward into the future of all there is to take on and all the potential changes with this endeavor, that's where I'm looking at too much. Rachel, you willing to go next?
Sure. For me, it's around parenting in 2023. And my son is about to, he's getting to that age of going to school and having to decide between school or homeschool, and the frustration around the fact that he can't receive medical care unless I am coerced into vaccinating him, and COVID, they put the COVID vaccine on the childhood immunization schedule, and etc. Just feeling like so many avenues where I don't feel safe, and it just feels like a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Sky, you willing to go next?
What comes up for me is I'm sitting and I'm looking at my notes on my phone where I keep everything that kind of like my to-do list and everything that I want to do, whether it be for today, next week, several weeks, months. And I just have the thought of it's a lot, it's too much. Where not enough time, too much to do.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mhm.
Natalie M.
I'm involved in multiple projects. Most of them are volunteer projects. And I'm also investigating starting an online business. And I don't have like to-do lists anymore. I have mind maps to keep track of all of the details and tasks. And sometimes it feels like too much. It really is a lot of computer time.
Yeah.
Probably have too much computer time.
Thanks. Natalie V.
This is such a great topic for this week. There's this huge hack that happened to Facebook Meta this week, and my businesses were a part of it, and they're stealing financial data and running ads on people's accounts. And so I've had to change every credit card. It's just too much to deal with that idiocracy. And it puts me into the space of, I am so done with big tech, big brother systems of the old world that I just want to see crumble. And when I go into that space, I just start thinking about all of it, taxes, system, and I want them too fast, crumble faster. It's too much. So
Yeah.
that's been my week so far. So perfect topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Farrellyn.
I've been catching myself in the mirror lately and just going, wow, just shocked at how old I look and kind of beat up and worn out. And the prospect of growing old alone is too much.
Yeah.
Alone without a partner, without someone to live with and share daily life with.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. And Nia, if you're interested in dropping something into the chat, won't be discussed on the call, you're welcome to, just to, kind of be seen in that way. No pressure. Yeah, thank you all for sharing the journey in this way. I think we all get to learn and grow so much more when we are seen, and also we see each other. We'll learn more about the mind and about how it's structured, how it works, how it's not personal. It's just like it's part of the order of the universe. So I appreciate you sharing what's going on in there so we can learn about ourselves. Okay, so now I invite you back into the experience of it's too much. So trying it on again. It's too much. Again, notice what begins to happen in your body. What begins to happen in your mind? What images do you see? What sensations, what emotions do you experience? So just take a minute to be with that, and then we'll just popcorn out in a minute. We'll just share little bits of the experience together. So what is it like? And this thought is believed, it's too much. So again, I'll start us off, and then I won't call on anyone. Just feel free to popcorn what you notice. So for me, what I notice, my breath immediately gets more shallow. My sight becomes more blurred. It's almost like I can't actually see through my physical eyes. It's like I see content in front of my eyes. I see barriers. I see obstacles. I feel constricted in my chest. And the floor is open.
I will share. I also feel pressure in my chest and the heart area, and I immediately want to cry. And it feels like it's coming from all sides. Um, Following internal dialogue, I feel like there's a thin line between it's too much and I'm not safe. And there's also a fine line between it's too much and I'm not enough.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a lot of bleed through. And it's too much feels like that it's tied to lack, something lacking. Either I'm lacking in something or the world is lacking in something. And so, ironically, there's this juxtaposition of being being too much and also not enough.
Yeah. Thank you. And I forgot to offer the reminder for us to stay with the meditative experience as we're sharing and as we're listening to one another. So just that reminder, stay with it, stay in it, feel it.
First, I feel like my shoulders slump. Even if it doesn't happen physically, it's like an energetic shoulder slump. And then if it goes further, like I want to leave and go crawl in a hole. Or I also noticed the thing that Natalie was sharing about like just take it all down. Like if all that shit would just go away. If there was no internet, I couldn't even have an internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also feel a constriction in my throat and in my chest. I feel stressed. I related a lot to what Rachel was saying about yeah, that feeling of like it's too much, and at the same time it's not enough, and I'm not enough for not being able to accomplish it all. To start creating a story that I won't accomplish it all, and what that means and how that will feel. Yeah, just that feeling of lack. that that forgetting that everything is perfect right now, right here. That feeling of a separate self, a separateness that something needs to be done, like an uncomfortable urge to move rather than moving from joy and peace.
Thank you.
So interesting. Everyone's chest gets constricted because that's exactly what I feel. And my shoulders, it's like it it does actually feel like the weight of the world. Maybe in my moment, it's the weight of the old world. And I just feel like it's one more space in which the power is taken away. And I hate feeling weak. Like, where's my sword? Where's the castle? There isn't one. And it's just that weakness and that heaviness just really sits here in the breath too. Feel it's almost gone, constricted. So yeah, similar.
Yeah. The immediate slump and um yeah, like a little deflated tire. Air goes out of my tire. Feeling that I don't like my image. I get self-critical. I start going when I look at myself, and I think how other people are looking at myself, and I get in the swirl of I know that it's safe here, but I just notice that I'm looking at myself critically, and that doesn't feel good. Just want to move through this, and yeah, I feel just tired and self-judgment, and I know it's going to be okay, but it doesn't feel okay. Not really. Um, yeah, and it's my thing to deal with because it's ironic. I want to be seen, but I'm afraid to be seen and judged because I'm judging myself. But I know this story so well, and yeah, I'm just watching it right now.
Yeah. Thank you all. So staying with this, it's too much. Consider how capable you feel with this thought to be able to move through. Consider the impact on your capacity. Like, is it motivating? Is it inspiring? Like, oh, when I go, it's too much, does that help me? Just take a moment to notice. It's too much. In terms of moving through what's in front of you, responding. Does it support your will? Does it support your clarity?
go, but it brings up compassion for myself.
Mm, yeah. And notice also, what does it feel like your relationship with the universe is like? Like, does it feel like, well, this is a good and friendly universe? Does it feel like this is a hard, difficult, challenging universe? Notice your relationship with the world, with life. It's too much.
Are we sharing or are we all sitting?
You can share if there's something here for you.
Yeah. It's too much. Feels like a belief that sparks a feeling of the instinct for self-preservation. Um, it does not assist with focus for me because when I'm thinking of all of the much, I can see it all at once instead of just one thing at a time. And that's the premier way of getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that's a great inquiry because that too much in this specific instance is actually a massive catalyst to figure out the path away from systems. So for this specific too muchness, it's actually a fire to make the change that I knew was coming.
Yeah. So the transformation is beautiful. And what I want to invite us just for now is to stay with the meditation of when we're in, it's too much. Right? So like, okay, then it leads me to the fire, and the what can change. But when I'm in, it's too much. We're just looking there. What is it like with it's too much first? Just to learn about that. Another thing to consider is what begins to happen in your relationships, in your interactions with other selves. It's too much. How do you treat the people around you? What is your voice like? What are your actions like?
For me, I'm less present with the people around me because I'm thinking about the future and everything I have to do. And to go back to your earlier question about the relationship that we have with life and that moment, it's a resistant one. There's resistance. to life, to what is. And yeah, I'm just less present with whoever is helping me with this task because I'm thinking about the next one.
I had an additional awareness around I'm working on a piece about embodiment, like to teach about it. So it's been on my mind a lot, and it feels like one of the ways that I hold embodiment is like, squeezing the soul into the body, and they each kind of come with their own stuff, and to like work out the stuff that's between them so the soul can fully inhabit. And it feels like that. It almost feels like the soul, it's like too much. Like if I do all the things, it's like squeezing all of my soul into my body. It's too much. And there was another thing I wanted to share too. Not remembering. Oh, the question that you just asked about how it affects relationships is like, I feel like I have to keep people at bay. Like if I was birthing, I'd be like, get out of my space. It feels kind of like that.
Yeah.
The feeling it's too much, the feeling of it being too much makes me manic and scattered and very irritable. So I'm short with people in relationships when I'm feeling that feeling of something being too much. I get very irritable and short and less considerate of their of them in general. So it's not a, it doesn't feel like I'm in touch with my heart or theirs.
Yeah. One of the ways that I find that in myself too is I think of it as like when I start to interact with other people as though it's true that it's too much. It's like I'm imprinting that pattern, that like thought pattern, out there into the world in my relationships. Like I'm proving it's too much. Like, hello, can't you see? It's too much. There's too much. I start like teaching, teaching those around me that that's a fact of life. And I see the like fractal, like fractal pattern just like ripple out across the world, like proving to myself and everyone around me, like, hello, don't talk to me like that because it's too much. You you need to see that it's too much. And like, yeah, I just can kind of watch consciousness, like my consciousness, play out onto the scene.
I think I know what you mean. I feel the ripple effect of what I'm putting out there and trying to stay in the meditation. I just see how I'm creating more of my reality.
Yeah. And a really helpful quote for me from Byron Katie, who's one of my main teachers in this modality, is that mind's job is to prove that what it believes is true. So when I believe it's too much, the way that mind works, like there's, a lot of, we're studying Ra or Walter Russell, we're studying unified cosmology. There's the one whole idea or the one original concept, and then it gets seemingly split into ideas, into like a focused concept. And that's part of our freedom. It's part of our free will. And we can watch that happen, right? When I believe it's too much, mind's job is to prove that to me. So I'll start to see it's too much. You're too much. You're talking too much. You're in my way. I have too much. I can't breathe. It's too much. Just, you can watch it happen. And what I also find to be really helpful is we often don't catch it, right? We don't know that it's happening because it's the filter that we're seeing through. And so it seems as though that's just reality. But what we can catch is the shoulders slumping, the tightness of breath, the stomach tension. And so what I want to invite us to do right now is be with all of those often uncomfortable sensations and just take a minute to be friends with them, to welcome them, because they're here showing us what's playing out, showing us the limitation of mind. So just take a minute to feel any tension, constriction, discomfort, and as best you can, welcome it as a friend, because it's here helping you notice. It's the body catalyst that's revealing your mind catalyst. Consciously welcome those sensations, those emotions. Thank you for being here, friend. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for reminding me. I was going into the dream. And there's nothing wrong with going into the dream, but it's really helpful to notice and be able to come back out. So now what let's do, the next phase of the meditation, is I invite you to allow yourself to be without the thought. Without the thought, it's too much. So what this isn't is replacing the thought. We're not looking for another concept and to look through another concept. We're not replacing it and saying, oh, it's fine. It's not too much. But just instead, allow the mind as best you can to release this idea. Just for a minute, not forever. Just, what if you were without this thought, it's too much? Just allow yourself to notice without the thought. What is it like to be you right now? without the thought. As soon as you're ready, feel free to jump in and popcorn.
For me, what came up was excitement. Like, I'm excited to do the one thing on my to-do list that say I take from the long list of notes and I copy and paste it to just a blank note by itself. Just focus on that one thing and go and do that. I feel like, oh, there's like an excitement, like, yeah, I get to go like get a car wash or go buy groceries or whatever it is, without this like looming sense of all these other things. Oh, and this is just a means to an end, to get this done, to do this, to do this, to do this, to never finish it all in one day. What if I just focused on that one and there was no thought of it's too much because it's just one thing. It's like I don't have to, but I get to go do that thing. There's a sense of joy.
Yeah, sounds like life moves. It's my shorthand of what I hear from you. Life moves through you. So without the thought. What I notice is just more ease. Just find myself back here in my seat, comfortable, just simple.
Thinking of or dropping the belief that it's too much in my personal situation that I've called upon today. I feel more capable. Dropping the belief allowed more space for me to see opportunities of support or alternative pathways to get my son's needs met without compromising by crumbling under coercion, etc. So it just opened up energy for me to be able um, to see more of what's available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like um, the word flow and a river came to my mind, where it was a single, powerful path, but then it broke off into a bunch of different channels. So there are a lot of places to flow. So similar to you, Rachel, opportunity, option, water versus fire, which is interesting too.
Yeah.
I think I'm having trouble dropping it because I'm still feeling like even without the thought, it's too much.
Yeah.
It still feels like too much.
Yeah. And that's okay. I think it's a helpful opportunity to see if it's available to put it down. And what can help too is sometimes on these calls, and we may not get to that just for time, but sometimes it can be helpful to go with the thought, without the thought, and then back to with the thought, without the thought. And then you can start to see subtle nuances, and a gap will kind of grow, and you can feel into the difference. So if we don't get to that together, you can try that on your own later to just see like, okay, look, put it back on again. And now does it come up? Okay, now put it back on again, and something may shift. And you also can play with, go into a thought experiment of like, what if I grew up on a planet where that was just not even ever taught to me, where that concept didn't even exist. No one ever presented that idea to me at all. So like, if it could just completely be removed from the mental sphere, or some other way to kind of play with like, that doesn't even exist, sometimes that opens it up. And also you're doing great. Not doing anything wrong by not being able to find it. It's just we're seeing what happens.
BJ, if I could just add something to that. I don't know if I heard this from you or Katie, but I heard this like it's very similar to what you said, but just a different word that may help Marilyn. But like if it wasn't possible for you to think that thought, like if it just wasn't, it's kind of similar to what you said. If you grew up on a planet and there was no concept of that, or just it was not possible for you to have that thought at all. Like what would happen then? I don't know. Just another way that I think of it.
I hear you. Thanks. I think I'm just not in the right phrasing of it for myself. I've got to find what the issue is and work with it, because it's getting unclear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's too much? Loneliness, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could very well help you, to sit with, okay, here's loneliness. And what if I experience this loneliness without making the meaning of the loneliness? It's too much. Just the loneliness itself as best you can without any meaning attached to it. Whatever that sensation is, whatever that energy in the body is, remove the meaning too much. See if that works for you.
Yeah, because I can just feel it, and it doesn't mean something about me that I start recreating. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So just play with that. And another thing that can happen sometimes is there could be resistance that arises. That's like, wait, well, I think I need to think that it's too much. If I don't think that it's too much, what might happen? Like, oh, I'm going to say yes to another opportunity. I'm going to, so what can also happen is what we've been using the thought for starts to come in. Like we use thoughts like a tool. And sometimes it's like, oh no, I need to remember that it's all too much so that I can have boundaries and those thoughts can be really helpful to question as well. Like, okay, if I didn't believe that it was too much, then I would take on this future would happen. Right? If I take off it's too much, then I see a future and that future is going to happen. And that's something you can question as well and look at again, like, okay, so do I need this thought to help me not take on more things? Is this thought, it's too much? helpful? Is it working as the tool that I'm attempting to use it as? So just to offer that possibility, sometimes some fear, some resistance can come in when we remove the top layer, and that can reveal some of how we've been using the thought. And that can take you down a secondary track of inquiry. Go ahead, Sky.
Oh, I just wanted to say one more thing to add to that that I was thinking of. It's like one thing that's helped me too is like what Muji says about like, and it might help Fairlyn as well. Like if you're finding it hard to drop it, you could think of it as like leaving your shoes outside. So like when you come into a room, you just leave your shoes outside, and so like they'll still be there when you leave. Like if you want them, they'll still be there for you. So it's like you don't have to think like, oh, I'm gonna drop it and it's just gonna go away forever and I'm gonna lose it and I'm not gonna get it back if I don't want it. You know, like you just think of it like, oh, I'm just leaving my shoes outside, and that's just like what BJ is asking you to do, or what you're asking yourself to do with this exercise. Like I'm just gonna leave them outside, but they'll still be there. I know they'll still be there if I want them. So yeah, that's how I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, which is
Powerful.
just another way of dropping the future for a moment. Like it's just now, just right now, not what I'm afraid is going to happen if I lose it forever. Just right now. What is my presence like? What is my body like? What is my experience like? Just now. Did you want to say something, Fairlyn?
Just that's a potent exercise.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To show the nature of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, let's go back into with the thought just for a minute, just to try it on again. It's too much. And sometimes it doesn't want to come back, and that's just fine. You know, it's like, oh wait, no, I've already seen that it's more helpful to be without it. That's great. You don't need to force it, but you can invite it, see if there's any residual play there. It's too much. And feel it again. And as best you can, welcome those sensations, those emotions. And the floor is open to share if there's anything. But no need, we can move on if there's not anything to share.
Just one last quick thing I'll share. Something new that came up was like a, a thought or an image of like wanting to run from it and not face it. So the thought of like it's too much actually takes me away from facing it and from dealing with it.
Yeah. It's too much. Yeah, I notice similar for me. That it's like, oh, I'm stuck again. Stuck, blocked.
it brought up the self-compassion again for me, and
Mm.
the desire to just ask for help from spirit,
Yeah.
and it put, moves me
Mm.
onward and upward, or inward, in it, just feel that the only thing to do is bring on the love for the person feeling lonely, and ask for the connection to source, which always helps.
Mm. Yeah. So now we'll go back one more time without the thought. Again, not to replace this thought with another, but just there's no space for that label, that meaning of reality right now. What is your presence like? What is it like to be you in this moment without the thought, it's too much? And again, in the contrast between the two, of with the thought and without the thought, now I invite you to consider again, is that meaning that we can make of a situation that it's too much, is that helpful? Is it moving you towards your heart's desire? Does it support you to be capable? Is it possible that you're more ready to retire that meaning, that limitation of reality, that lens? Are you interested in releasing that meaning? It's too much. So now I'll move us into takeaways and shares. What do you, as you reflect on this time together, what takeaways do you notice? What impact, what ahas, any shifts? So now we can stay in the meditative space, and also if you'd like to step away a little bit, that's welcome too. Like zoom out, look back. What just happened? Where did we travel? And where are we now?
I feel like I have two aha moments. The first one was when you were talking about how when we believe something, we kind of paint the vibration of that belief onto our surroundings, and we teach others the truth of that belief. That was pretty mind blowing. I never thought about it like that, but that was a huge aha moment for me that I'm going to be thinking about when I'm interrelating about what beliefs am I bringing into this situation and painting what story am I painting, and what impact does that have on those around me. And the second moment is one that I feel like I'm going to continue to stew on, which was that the feeling that something is too much makes me, I feel like it's another way of communicating to myself that I'm threatened. And I had a random memory of when my husband was in the Marines. Um, he, I had a nickname. The Marines and their wives used to call me the pit bull because I got it because of this one moment, which I won't go into, but they started calling me the pit bull because I'm really sweet and loyal. But when somebody that I love and feel protective over is threatened, I can become very threatening, and very protective. And that popped into my head because I noticed that the feeling of something being too much, I started to get in touch with that little pit bull inside of me that wants to protect and feel safe from the perceived thing that's too much. So I kind of, I guess I had never really considered that something being too much would be a threat, something that I consider a threat, and whether or not it really is or not. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. And I think in this situation that I've brought to mind for this session, that it's, I feel like I want to honor the feeling that it's too much so that I can navigate. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to let go of that with this situation.
Yeah.
But I also am aware that I can sit with it and drop it. But I know that that feeling's going to get triggered again because my son is 4 and he has a lot of life, a lot of his childhood, and I'm sure that feeling is going to come up again. So,
Yeah.
but I can sit with it when it does and
Yeah.
consider
Yeah.
if it's helpful or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I thanks for that share. And I just want to reveal that I'm not coming with an agenda to get you all to drop the thought either, right? It's just an invitation for you to see whether it's still helpful for you. Absolutely honoring our own unique journeys. If it's a helpful thought for you, it's available. It's part of our freedom to put that lens onto situations or into our lives. So yeah, just to share that. I'm not here trying to say no, get rid of it. So it's yours. It's absolutely yours.
And I think too that now that I've had this session, I can bring, when I'm feeling the too muchness and noticing it, I can learn to distance myself from it, and maybe it might be useful, but because I can learn to be more aware of it, maybe I will be less manic and less short and irritable with people, and maybe, maybe the awareness of it, even if I think it's useful, can soften the tone of the color that I'm painting over the situation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And not get lost in it and have it run you,
Yeah.
but be aware of like, oh, this is one of those moments. It's too much. And the pit bull's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Are there ahas or takeaways or
This was a really good reminder of the infinite river of flow within for me.
Mm. Love that. Yeah.
I was gonna say pretty much what Rachel said about your comment, BJ. It really landed with me as well. But I guess I'll say it in like a slightly different way because she pretty much said like what you said, but in a different part of it. So what I wrote down was like pretty much from what I understood about it was what you believe about others, yourself, the world. You see, oh, this was, I guess, just stream of consciousness. Doesn't really make sense, but what you believe about others, yourself, the world. Oh, you see the world through those eyes and manifest what you see. It's all coming from you. It's all happening inside you. Life is happening inside you. So yeah, it's like kind of like that quote of like whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Or whether you think it's like a good world or a bad world, you're right. Like it's kind of like it's all about like what you believe and what you see is what you believe about the world. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good reminder. And also, Rachel, like what you said, I think I mentioned it earlier. I forget. It's like just slipped my mind, but I remember that really sticking out to me too. Can you remind me what I said earlier that you said, if you remember? I don't
How
know.
is
Maybe
it
I'll.
about how we teach?
No,
Uh.
it was the line between this is too much and I'm not enough.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a big one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole I pretty much said it earlier, so I won't repeat myself. But that was a big one because it's like two seemingly like contradictory,
Yeah.
opposite things. But I think that that's also just like what everything comes back to in life is that's like with how the ego operates, right? It's like a sense of lack or sense of separation. It's like everything
Yeah.
is like rooted in that. So kind of ties into the law of one too. But
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
Good
and
session.
directly into what we were studying yesterday with the secret of light. Actually, I don't know if anybody was there last night, but yeah, just the way that the way that opposites are created from the same center point. Like too much creates not enough, and not enough proves too much, right? Like there can't be too much without the concept not enough. Like there can't be big without small. Like big doesn't mean anything unless there's something that's small. Small doesn't mean anything unless there's something that's big. Like is an elephant big or small? What are you comparing it to? So it's like comparing it to a planet is tiny. Comparing it to an ant, it's big. So concepts are formed in opposites. So too much creates not enough, literally, in our experience.
BJ, that was a great way to personalize Walter Russell's very sciencey sounding teachings. You really brought it
Awesome.
to something that can be applied to me.
Yeah. Well, and we can watch it happen, right? We can watch it happen in meditation. When I'm with the idea there's too much, it's too much. Not enough is also created. There it is.
Yeah, I was just gonna hop on real quick too to say what you were saying, BJ, reminded me of what Natalie V was saying earlier about her situation and how that contrast. You were saying when you were in inquiry, you were realizing um, that everything that happened with the Facebook and everything that was going on that was stressing you out was actually helping. I believe you said like it's helping you see what you can do about it or like where you can take action or something. And so that was making me think of what BJ was saying about like that contrast of like, oh, it's like super stressful and not ideal, but it's also like pushing you to take action. And sometimes we need that, you know, that intense contrast to push us. Like I'm experiencing that right now in my personal life with this intense contrast from going from the military to like a Buddhist hippie spiritual school after, you know. So it's like two kind of contradictory opposites, but it's kind of like I needed that in my life to move. Because sometimes if we're like right in the middle and it's just like just slightly not good, you know, we don't really take action. So yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that's my takeaway. Is like I can't drop the feeling of it sucks to grow old alone, and that's the way it feels. But it's certainly pushing me right into self-love and connection to source, which is what I've been saying I want my whole life. And it's my challenge. It's the deepest thing. There it is.
Mm. Natalie, we're sharing takeaways. I don't know if you missed that part. You're welcome to share anything, ahas or.
I think it's helpful for me to frame it as an embodiment process. And that it's not actually too much to do. It's maybe what I signed up for.
Right. Yeah. A really helpful reminder for me, or a helpful practice, I guess, for me is to, related to what you're sharing, like find how in the moment, whatever it is that is here, there's space for it. Because here it is. And what we can tend to do is constrict around things, and it seems as though there's not space for it. But then to return to, oh, there's actually that thing that's happening. It happened. Reality has space for it. And connecting with, oh, reality has space for it, like opens up, for me, it like opens up the nervous system, and my nervous system becomes the space rather than becomes the constriction. I become the space, which is how we are reality. It's how we are. What we are, like our real identity is whatever's happening in the moment. That's what we are. So we actually have space for what happens, which doesn't mean necessarily that we condone it or that we wanted it. You know, I didn't want Facebook to get hacked or whatever, but like, okay, there it is. I'm not like, okay, cool, that's great. That was now I want that to happen and keep happening. It's like, no, it happened. I have space for it. And now that I have space for it, I can respond and life moves through me. But when I constrict around it, I can't respond and I don't want to, I push it away and make the past not have happened, and it doesn't work right. So reality has space for it. I also have space for it. And now I can respond. So we could close out there, or if there's any last thing. Yeah, Sky.
Just one more like cool thought experiment. I'll maybe just drop in the chat or drop in the discussion. I know we're out of time, but for just people to think about. Where my mind went with that, with what you said, is like, yeah, like your human self, your ego certainly doesn't want it or ask for it, but like if you want to take it like another step deeper, maybe you could think about like on some level, maybe you do want it, like you did ask for it, you know, and I know that's like hard for the ego or the mind to grasp, but like that maybe it's a good thing because of like what Natalie V said, you know, like you want it to push you into a new direction, or you want it to make you stronger or something, you know, or we're not seeing like all the positives, you know. So that's like one thing Eckhart says is like act whatever is happening, act as if you chose it. Like act as if you did want it to happen or you did choose it. And like how would you respond then? So yeah, easier said than done, but just kind of where my mind went with it.
Cool. Let me see if I can pull up a quote right quick. If I don't find it, I can drop it, but yeah, I found it. So another one of my favorite quotes from Katie is, inquiry as meditation allows us to realize the kindness of the intelligence that directs everything. So this practice, inquiry as meditation, allows us to realize the kindness of the intelligence that directs everything. Love that. Thanks for playing with me.
Thanks, BJ.
Thank you all. Thank you for your vulnerability.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing the journey.
Thank you guys. I think this is more my speed than Wild One. This is more my vibe.
Yeah.
Thank you. This
This
fun.
is good. This is good. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, BJ.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.